It's a pleasure to be here and think about our city going forward. And I thought I would take a little tack from most of the presentations about Vancouver, which are overwhelmingly positive and self-congratulatory. I thought I would add a different spin. I want to acknowledge, as I do there, that we've got beauty, lacking a little bit of brawn, although we're getting that on the ice, which is a good thing. And we've got a lot going for us. All these livability awards, whether it's from the UN or KPMG, whatever, we do very well in those rankings. But it's not enough. Going forward, we have to be much more concerned, I think, of how our city functions and how it functions at the street level, because that's where people interact. So what I want to do is say that how the city functions is critical, focus on form, design, and then function will follow is completely backward. And I want to focus on the street experience. So there are going to be 7 areas where I want to illustrate through slides that we have done somewhere between a bad and awful job. The worst job, we don't have enough time. I would need 70 minutes to document how awful we've been at integrating transportation and land use. That's a whole different week's lecture. So I'm just going to focus on these 7 issues on the next slide. These are things that have been very well done around the world and are things that we see as hallmarks when we go and see, I like that city. That was a great experience, because it's from the personal experience back. So the 7 areas I want to look at are pedestrian zones. It's notable we have no pedestrian streets in Vancouver. Outdoor dining and sidewalk cafes, something everybody loves about Europe and other cities, and certainly adds to the liveliness of our city. It's very difficult to get licenses to do those things. Mid-block walks and arcades, we don't have any. Our blocks are quite long downtown, and when you look at some of the examples I have where you cut a block in the middle, create a shopping experience, weather protected, and it really adds to the enjoyability of the city. The 4th area is indeed weather protection. Today was a nice day. As we've noticed, many days aren't. We have made some paltry attempts at having little glass shelters that you can walk under on some blocks, but we really haven't addressed the issue of how people can still enjoy the city when it rains and when it's cold and nasty. And we, again, Canada is a world leader in this, and we are not a follower. We are a world-class laggard. Street fairs. When I came to Vancouver in 1968, one of the great things was Greek Days, where we actually closed Broadway. I suspect we didn't go to the fire marshal and all the other people who could say no. This makes most cities highly enjoyable, but this city is a permit-driven city. It's tougher to get this stuff done. The 6th area is urban activity-filled waterfronts. We have beautiful waterfronts recently. When I came to Vancouver in 1968, I was stunned that you couldn't get to any of the waterfronts. There were rail yards here. Falls Creek were rail yards, and the Fraser River was filled with sawmills or fish nets. And we haven't done anything. We've made beautiful parks, beautiful walkways, but they're not really active. And the last issue is, while we've got those waterways, why don't we build some bridges across places like Falls Creek so people can enjoy both sides of the creek in a rather easy way. So let's mow these. I kind of resent that. I hoped I'd be negative and get boos, but I thank you for that. So I'm going to mow these down with pictures, and we'll go through the pictures very quickly. The first set of pictures are on pedestrian zones. And we could have closed Granville Street while we were digging it up, but we chose not to do that. So first set of pictures, this is Scarth Street Mall in Regina. I chose that because we have to have nothing but disdain for a cold place like Regina, and yet it has something we don't. It has a pedestrian setting. Next, Calgary, another place we hold great disdain for. It's done something rather nice. Even our national capital has a pedestrian mall. And then the last one is more typical European. This is Shepherd Market in London, one of many pedestrian streets. And I had 4 dozen slides on these, and they didn't fit at the 7 minutes, so I had to skip those. We can go to the next one, and outdoor dining. We're getting there, but our Victorian leanings tend to dominate. So here are some examples of what we fantasize about. Here was a river in San Antonio, Texas, which was an awful river, and then they cleaned it up about 30 years ago. And it's not a very big river, but they've made dining and walking and shopping. Shepherd Market, that's the wrong way. This is an outdoor dining area. And then finally, this is what we think of when we think of Europe. And we don't have anything like that in Vancouver. We don't have squares where we can just congregate and hang out and don't worry that the liquor distribution branch is going to come and take away our license. Mid-block walks. This is, again, these arcades, just to show you what I mean. This is 1865 in the center of Milan. It connects 3 pieces of a triangular block. Spectacularly beautiful, also very functional. The next one is in London. Well, that's Melbourne, a Victorian arcade. And then the last one, I think, comes from London, the Piccadilly Arcade from 1816. These are not new ideas. I'm not talking about radical change. I'm just talking about stealing the best from around the world. Indoor weather-protected pathways. 2 great Canadian examples of cities we don't like. Calgary with its plus 15 system, and then the loathed of the loathed, Toronto with its path system. We are a global leader in what we call winter cities, and we've done a spectacular job with both of these. Nothing like it here, nothing planned. Street fairs and markets, my home city of New York, which I left in 1968 to come here. This is the kind of market you see in Buenos Aires and thousands of other cities and towns. New York has 320 street fairs a year. They close huge streets like 6th Avenue for 10 blocks and let people actually have fun without permits. This is Portobello Road in London, Saturday and Sunday mayhem, wonderful place to be. And this is one of the great street markets in a Paris neighborhood, Mouffetard. Next, we're going to look at activities on the waterfront, not just trees. So the first issue is Singapore. This was a sewer when I first went to Singapore in 1978. People fish in this river now. It's not a very long river. It's about 10 kilometers. All these old shop houses have been converted. Same thing in London on the Thames. All these things were warehouses and derelict. Now they provide incredible life along the river and great activity centers for London. The last thing are bridges. I really find the first picture particularly distressing. There's Calgary again. The laggard. It's also the place our present planner came from, so I don't know why he didn't bring some good ideas with him. Here's a cheap but well-intended shot. There are 6 bridges along the Yarra River in the center of Melbourne, which have totally transformed the south side of the Yarra. And the last is famous Millennium Bridge crossing the Thames. So these are all examples of what we could do, what others have done. All of them aim to make this a more enjoyable, lively city. So that's my pitch. I hope we can move from being just beautiful to also being enjoyable. Thank you.